Philip Siegel of Havana Phil Cigar Company.
And I'm Shayna Lee, the social media manager here and owner of Shayna Lee Photography.
Welcome to Behind the Smoke Screens, where we give you a raw and unfiltered look at what it's like to run a business as two young entrepreneurs.
In our line of work, we have the pleasure of creating relationships with a variety of characters. Influencers, athletes, models, digital media gurus, CEOs, and industry experts. And we'll be inviting them on to share with you.
Sit back, grab a sip and a smoke as we take you behind the smoke screens. Six. It's our sixth episode.
Six, yeah.
Of Behind the Smoke Screen.
Yep.
We're here with Kayne Fisher, owner of Cal at Revolution Mill. Go check it out. Best wings in town.
I appreciate that.
I say that almost every day. It's kind of weird, but I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah, I pride myself in them.
I just ate there on Saturday.
Good, thank you.
And had delicious portobello.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, we're not just a butchery. We can throw some veggies in there.
Yeah, I had a veggie. I mean, it was amazing.
We can throw the veggies in there.
I've also had the tuna poke bowl.
Yep.
And oh my God, it's amazing.
I love that.
It's so good.
Yeah, that was that came from, well, Cal. I don't know how deep y'all want to get, but Cal.
Deep.
For me, I mean, you want me to go back a little bit?
Let's go back. Take it
I'll
back.
go back.
Take
So we'll go back to that Greensboro thing.
Back into town.
So I'm not going to get. We'll go history lesson a little bit without getting too historical.
Okay.
But Greensboro in '88, college, met a buddy and a roommate and a friend, and had a dream of doing a bar, you know, like a lot of college kids. Like, let's do a bar. And we were working for a local company here while we were in school called American Premium Beverage, and they're a wine wholesaler. And in the late 80s, maybe 90, they brought something in that was foreign to everybody, and that was micro beer. And it was Samuel Adams in Sierra Nevada. Nobody knew what that was. Of course, now today, everybody knows what that is. But we tried it, we liked it, and we said, you know, if this bar thing ever happens, we ought to open a micro draft beer bar. And to fast forward a little bit, a dream became a reality in 1996, and we opened our first place called Old Town Draught House right on Spring Garden, right next to Yum Yum's Hot Dogs. Wow. And it was 17 draft beers of micro beer. Now, obviously, it's called craft beer. Micro beers, and you know, people said, you guys are crazy. Nobody's going to drink it. It's Budweiser, it's Miller, it's Coors Light, you know. But we just believed in it. We became passionate about it. We wanted to learn more about it. We wanted to teach, but we knew that in order for it to work, just in case the beer didn't work, we had to have good food. And I've always been surrounded by food since I was a kid, and I'll touch on that a little bit with Cal. But anyways, we opened in 1996 to, like I said, a lot of skepticism. But once people started exploring and we started teaching, it worked, you know. And there's this wave anyways coming from California and Colorado and even up north of this micro beer revolution, this handcrafted revolution. And so we got the wave early. It led us to a second place in '98 called First Street Draft House in Winston-Salem. And then we came back in 2000 and opened right down the street called Tap Room.
Oh, yeah.
So we opened Tap Room, and after 5 years of, you know, selling other people's beer, we decided to brew our own. And that's when we founded Natty Greene's Brewing Company, and we opened that in 2004 with the idea of doing some classic American ales that we liked, whether it was, you know, kind of molded after Sierra Nevada, which we first experienced, you know, years earlier. And, you know, dumb luck had it that we opened downtown. Again, kind of full circle. People were like, why are you going downtown? Because in 2004, downtown was dead. You know, nobody wanted to go downtown.
I remember that.
And so we liked the building. We needed the space, and we did it, and it worked. And then in 2005, we did a deal with the baseball stadium, and that kind of springboarded the beer and turned it into a brand. where it was like, oh, Natty Greene's, and that wave started crashing in even closer from the big craft states, and it transitioned from microbeers to craft beers, and everybody understood what was going on.
Cool.
And so we got in on the early stages, but I've always been passionate about the food. I remember back when we opened Old Town, I told my former business partner, and I'll get to that in a second, that, man, if this craft beer thing catches on, anybody can pour a beer.
Right.
How are we going to separate ourselves? And I said, the way we're going to separate ourselves is with food. And I've been around food since I was 5 years. We're all been around food. But in terms of like the preparation and the cooking of food, since I was 5. So I told you I lived in New Mexico. Well, every summer, my mom would send me and my sister to Detroit to live with my grandparents, Italian. My mom's Sandra Rosalind Di Maria. And so I'd go stay with the parents because when I was 4, my parents got a divorce. So my mom was on her own raising 2 kids. So she would send us to Michigan. Well, she worked for the summers because we were out of school, out of daycare, whatever it was. And my grandmother would put me to work in the kitchen after my grandfather, who worked for Chrysler, would come get me about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'd go to the local market. You kind of see where I'm going here once I get to the cow thing. And we'd walk in and somebody would be like, Tony. He's like, hey, how you doing? He goes, what do you have? And I'm chopping some chicken, or I got some beef, or I got this. And so, all right, give me 2 pounds of chicken, get some garlic, get some Italian bread, get some Swiss chard. And we go home, and my grandma would be like, all right, peel the garlic. So at 5, I was peeling garlic. 6, I was peeling garlic, and maybe shaking a pot.
And you didn't mind the smell of the garlic?
Nah. I'm glad there's no video on that, but you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, because it's pretty pungent. But the fact is that each year that went by, each summer that went by, I went from peeling to maybe touching the pan to stirring to actually cooking and cutting. And and going to these markets and seeing, the butchering and the engagement and the association that neighborhoods had with these corner markets, I fell in love with it. And when we moved to Michigan when I was 15, my mom remarried when I was 11. That's what brought us to Fayetteville. And when we moved to Michigan, that's when I started hatching this plan. That one day, I want to do a butchery market restaurant. I said, that's just, I was so intrigued by it. So, back up to the little journey that I had here with Old Town and First Street and Natty Greene's. I always knew that that's ultimately what I want to do. I wanted to be surrounded by food. And as we grew with the brand Natty Greene's, it led us to Revolution Mill, where we were planning on doing a restaurant and a brewery over there.
Right.
But my business partnership was, the philosophies were different. My former business partner, he loved beer, and I love food. So it was time to say, all right, I'll tell you what, you focus on the beer, I'll focus on the food. Let's make a trade. And so I said, I'll give you Natty Greene's for this space at Revolution Mill. And that's when I unleashed the full potential of what I thought about when I was 15 years old and right outside of Detroit, Michigan. And that was a market and a butchery and a restaurant. And that's Cow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How's that been going?
So it's been going well. I think we're all kind of in a very peculiar situation since March.
Sure.
But as far as doing what I love, it's doing great.
Yeah. And as far as the trade-off, do you regret it at all?
I don't. Walking away from an established brand at 49 years old, when I did it 2 years ago, I wasn't scared at all.
Right.
I believe in the concept, but most importantly, one person who's been with me through the entire journey I explained from 96 until today is now my wife. Her name is Jill, and I have her, and she's one of the best operators / managers that we or I could ever ask for. That she helped grow our business early on, and she's a part of it now.
Behind every successful man
yes,
is one badass woman.
Yeah, truth. Truth.
that. Just gotta mention that.
Or sometimes behind every badass woman, there's a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the dude. But so I
Playing video games.
Yeah, I'm the dude, like Call of Duty. What do you know? So, but anyways,
God.
so yeah, so I believed in the concept. I knew I had Jill. I knew we had a great staff. Our location wasn't great, but our facility's beautiful.
Amazing.
Have a great, I guess, landlord and visionaries over there with what they're doing with Revolution Mill and self-help. And I wasn't scared. I was willing to take the chance. I mean, it's that old adage. I learned it from my grandfather. Is, man, it's so lame, but it's so true. And that is, hard work pays off. And if you believe in it and you do it, it's going to happen, and it's happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like the seed was planted at a very, very young age for you with your interest in culinary skills and food preparation. What is something that you remember from your childhood that you've just never forgotten? You still use it to this day. You look back on it, maybe you think about your parents or your grandparents teaching you that.
Yeah. I remember two things. One is just the camaraderie around the table and the amount of food on that table. I mean, it was unreal. There was always somebody coming over, whether it was family or neighbors or friends, and then there was always just a massive amount of food. And I think that is carried over into Cal, because I don't know if you've ever seen or had our mac and cheese, but you can eat on it for a week. Yeah. So those two things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always try to finish the mac and cheese. It never works out.
There's no way.
No.
There's no way. One, from what I just said, but two, our building's huge, so you have to make the food to scale. If I was doing tapas over there in that, 25-foot ceiling, 9,000 square foot building, people would think they're getting gypped. They'd be like, what is this?
That makes sense.
Like,
Right.
So instead, I give you
Yeah,
thick
'cause
cut.
it feels big
I've
over
never
there
thought
for sure.
about that.
Yeah, that's funny.
You have to do that, and then
Yeah.
I've come full circle to where the first place we opened in '96. I'm coming back and taking that back over. That's Old Town Draught House.
Yeah.
It opens this Monday, actually, after 5 weeks of transition and cleaning.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Thank you.
congratulations.
And that's a little bit smaller, so the food will still be, you'll still get plenty, but it's not going to be as massive as those
Right.
mac and cheese and the steaks.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. So when did Old Town close?
So the Old Town timeline, we opened it in '96. We sold it to a guy that worked for us from 2000 until 2005. He started at Old Town. He came over to Natty Greene's as a manager. And when we decided that we wanted to do a brewery, a production facility in 2005, 2006, we actually sold Old Town, First Street, and Tap Room so we could get financing. We needed capital to get a bank loan to do the brewery. And so we were fortunate and we gave deals to sell it to former employees. So each location was sold to an employee, a staff member. And so this kid, Matty, who worked for us, we sold him Old Town, and he ran it from 2005 until this past August. And he ended up buying, during the shutdown, I mean, it was kind of stealth-like because nobody knew, he bought Yum Yums.
Oh, wow.
The iconic ice cream joint that I think has been around since like the 1900s, 1906. And he bought that, and then he came to Jill and I in May because when this whole thing happened in March with the shutdown, everybody was, like either panicking or, just the uncertainty. And so when the uncertainty happened, I took about 10 minutes back in March 17th to go, oh my God. And then I was like, all right, and it's time to fight. We got to figure this out. So, so we, stayed open. We turned Cal into a online grocery store. Fortunately for us, we had the market. We had a pipeline of, because I partnered up with smaller stockyards, so we didn't have to worry about meats and all that. So we did, but it was a really, really tough time. And fortunately for us, the bank and the landlords, everybody helped out. Across, it doesn't matter what sector you're in, everybody kind of helped out, right? Well, we're speaking about us, and I'll speak about Old Town. We own the property at Old Town, but we have a bank note. So when I say we own it, we don't own anything. The bank owns it, right?
Right.
So we had that note, and we still have years on that note, but the bank was like, all right, don't worry about the next couple months. So I passed that along to our tenant, Maddie, and said, don't worry about the next couple months, but come July, we gotta start it up again. And he said, yeah, I've been thinking about that. Y'all want it back, essentially? And I was like, no. At first, I was like, man, we got our hands full,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure this thing out. We don't even know if Cal's going to make it during this pandemic and whatnot. But as March and April and May, drew and things started settling out and there was some help, whatnot, I started thinking about it. And I was like, if he's still interested in walking, this is before I knew he bought Yum Yums. I said, how great would it be to come full circle and get back to where it all started from? So we met. He said he bought Yum Yums. He wanted to focus on that and wanted to know if we wanted the keys back. And we said, heck yeah. And so we got
Beautiful.
those back 1st of August. We've been cleaning it up and getting it ready, and here we go again, full circle.
Is it going to be a similar concept to Cal?
So it's going to be Cal quality. So in terms of similarity to that extent.
As far as the food goes?
Yep. But it's Old Town. Old Town's been around for 24 years, and we're just going to get it back to being what we created back in 1996 and as a tavern. And tavern's a food and drink establishment. Kind of took a little shift and turned into a bar. And a bar is a drinking establishment. Nothing wrong with that, but as I said earlier, my focus is food.
Yeah.
And so to me, food separates all.
Right. So it'll be...
I talk a lot.
You're good. You're good. We love it. Yeah.
All right.
This is behind the smoke screens.
Okay, good.
So we're learning all about you and what it's like to be in your shoes. It's hard to keep a cigar lit.
When you talk this much, yeah.
Talking
about me, not y'all.
Wait a minute. That's my problem. Because mine's definitely not lit either.
So what are the hours of Old Town?
So Old Town, there are some constraints, but Old Town will be open 11 to 11, 7 days a week. So
awesome.
serving lunch, dinner, full menu. And when I say full, serving food and beer, it's it is the quintessential neighborhood spot.
Right.
It's a food and drink, but it's a conversation. Look, we don't have pool tables, we don't have shuffleboard, we don't have dart boards. We don't have 15 TVs. It's a neighborhood spot. It fits with what I grew up with, going to neighborhood markets in a bar and kind of tavern environment. And we're not here to try to pull the sports crowd. We're not here to try to pull the game crowd. We're just trying to pull the neighborhood.
Right.
Come in, bring your kids. So it's very similar to Cal in that respect.
Yeah, and New Mexico.
And yeah. The
circle.
communes, of New Mexico.
Which is like, it really takes you back to the roots of sitting around the table and having conversation and caring about the quality of time with the people that you care about the most, which is that presence that I think so often we're missing in a world that is just moving at like super fast paced all the time, and we don't take enough time to sit back and spend that quality time together. And I know growing up, I would do that a lot with my family because my parents really there was a lot of importance on, or there was a lot of value in sitting around the table and having dinner together, and even going out to eat. We would sometimes sit for hours at restaurants, which is, I know the waiters are probably like, when are these people going to leave?
Yeah. Not turning this table.
Right. Like, they're never going to go.
Yeah.
But I remember as a kid just laying out in the booth, like going to sleep because my parents would just sit there.
They're getting coffee.
But no, but they would like drink, and like I always tip well and stuff. So I'm sure people at the end of the day were not, But the value in that's something I'll always remember is just being able to like sitting with my parents and them asking like the conversation piece of it, and actually caring about what the food tastes like and enjoying that together and having that experience together. And it sounds like that's really what you're doing with your establishments.
Yeah, and that is Old Town, and that's where we learned. And I've been in the restaurant business since I was 15. When it's funny, my dad, the summer of my 15th year, I was getting ready to go out to play, and he goes, "Where are you going?" I go, "I'm going to go mess around and go play." He goes, "No, you're going to go get a job." And I said, "I'm 15, brah." I probably said that actually, brah. You're a punk teenager. I'm 15. You can't get a job till you're 16. He goes, "I guarantee you, by the time you get home today, you'll have a job." And so I did. I ended up getting right outside of Detroit, Michigan, of all things. I got a job at the Country Kitchen as a dishwasher, and that was my entry.
I
into,
love that's how you started.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
into the dishwasher. It's
Yeah,
kind of gnarly looking back because it was a small place, shotgun place, and I'm doing dishes, but then I also made the house salad. So they'd be like, "Hey, 2 house salads." So I'd be like, shake my hands off and just walk over and make a salad. I didn't know.
God.
So yeah, you don't know,
Yeah.
obviously now. But so that was my, I already knew I was passionate about food. So getting into that was a no-brainer. But I actually, when I got to Greensboro, I worked for American Premium Beverage during the day, and at night I worked at Lucky 32.
Nice.
So right over here. So
Did you know Pierre Goria?
Yep.
It's my guy.
Yep.
He's a member here.
Yeah, I'm up here, and that's where I learned the most, honestly. And I'll throw them all the props in the world. That Quaintance Weaver program, and their product is fantastic.
Yeah.
And
stays consistent too.
it's consistent. He runs a tight ship, but a good ship. And his training program, his back in the day, man, Lucky's was the thing.
Oh yeah.
And now Green Valley Grill and proximity with the Printworks, and he's won at Monopoly. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
He's got hotels now, but he deserves it. That whole group deserves it. That whole organization, and I'll give 90% of the credit to that organization.
Wow.
Without that, I don't think I'd be where I am today. He's like Coach K.
Yeah.
He's got all these little coaches all over the place.
Yeah.
If
I
you
love
look,
that. Did not know that.
if you look at a lot of the restaurant tours here in Greensboro, we've all been touched by Quaintance Weaver.
Yeah.
Whether it's Chris Fuller down there at Crafted, and the list goes on. I could name tons, but I'll throw her name out there. But I mean, there's 10 or 12 of us.
Okay.
Whether it's Nick and George from 1618. Heck, I think even Jody worked there from Blue Denim. But anyways, but it was a big part of what I want to do. What I ended up doing from a structural standpoint. And
so you run a tight ship like they do.
I run a tight ship, but what I do run is a family ship. And so because of how I grew up, everything was a family-based meal, which you were just saying. And I took a lot of the good from them, and then I put it in my own mix and my own viewpoints of, I didn't want to be so structured in terms of the white starch shirt and tie.
Right.
I wanted people to, and this is, look, a huge compliment to them, and I don't want to take anything away from that, but I wanted people to feel comfortable and ready from a dress code standpoint to come to work, instead of like, oh God, I got to shave, I got to do this. So and that's just part of evolution. You start learning things in the business evolution thing. And I said, man, I want to have a place that the staff is. Look, you can have the best location, you can have the best concept, but if you don't have a staff that believes in you and is going to work hard for you, you don't have anything.
Right.
You're doomed. So. I've always felt that way from '96 to today, and now I just feel like I'm trying to either reinvent things or put a little spin on stuff like Cal.
You've written menus for several places. I don't even know how many hands you have on restaurants in Greensboro. Yep. What's your end goal? Like what is going to make you satisfied? What is success to you?
Well, if you ask my wife, she'll say nothing. You'll never be satisfied.
Right.
I think she's right. You ask an investor, if you had one, they want to know what the end game is, and that's to sell everything. I look at it more as a legacy. I have 2 children. We have 2 children, and we have a heck of a team. And so I can see it kind of going back full circle, where we sold all our places to to employees. I can see us doing some kind of, to something to that, but maybe not at the full level of selling everything, to whether our kids run it or our kids and our team get pieces of it, and we're always involved.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever stop. I've got Cal, which I don't think we've even scratched the surface.
Right.
We're combining a tavern, a neighborhood tavern, with a classic American chop house.
Right.
That's unheard of. I mean, if you go to Roost Chris, it's fantastic, but it's a production. You got to dress up, you got to get But at Cal, you can come after a softball game, and you can get chicken wings, or you can have a bone-in ribeye. You know, and that's different.
This is a really interesting piece of the discussion here, because as far as goal setting in business, we set these goals and we think maybe 5 years from now I'm gonna be here, or I want to say that I've done this and this, or whatever, and then 10 years from now I want to be making this, or whatever it is, or maybe I'm expanding. And at the end of the day, your children may not want to take on the business, right? And eventually there may no longer be any Cal, right?
That's right.
And so while you're here, it's so important to be doing something that you care about, that you love, that makes you happy, that brings you that joy, because really at the end of the day, this is how you're spending your life. And I can tell just in speaking with you, that you spend I'm imagining that you spend a lot of time in the business side of things.
Yeah, I do.
What does that look like? Are you what kind of hours do you put into the business, and how do you separate that? How do you slow down and take that time to spend that time with family, and also nurture the baby that are your businesses?
That's great. So the restaurant business is it's a tough business. It's tough on families, especially with kids, but we're so fortunate that both of us being in it and the kids being brought up in it, it's kind of all they know. But so I separated from Natty Greene's and my former business partner in 2018. I look at that as starting over, totally refreshed, totally liberated, and totally excited. Like I felt at that time and today, I feel like.
And that was a big deal too.
It was a huge deal.
Yeah.
That's 22 years.
It was all over the news.
It was 22 years of partnership, and just it was just time. It had run its course. Business philosophies were a little bit different. Interests were a little bit different, and so it was time. And so we did it. And but for me, I felt free. And look,
that's big.
I like beer, but I don't like the distribution game of it, right?
Especially in North Carolina.
Right. So, but I love food, and I just wanted to chase that. So, but starting over and being free, I felt like I was 26 again when we opened Old Town.
Nice.
And we opened Old Town, First Street, Tap Room, Natty Greene's with 2 years, and the brewery 2 years. We opened 5 places in a span of 9 years.
Wow.
So, coincidentally enough, here we are. We got Cal, getting that rolling, and let's put this COVID crap aside, because I'm not going to let that stop us, right? And so we're just going to keep plowing through, because if it's the end of the world, then it's the end of the world. So you might as well push.
Yeah.
So we got Old Town that kind of fell in our lap, full circle. So that's great. But I said at the beginning of this year, I want to open 5 places within the next 5 years. I know that sounds crazy, but I knew that I was getting ready to do something with a great friend of mine and a hell of an operator, and that's Seth Mapes, and he owns the Bearded Goat. And so he and I have been friends for a while, and we said, hey, if an opportunity ever arises, let's do something together. It did in December, and we locked down the spot, which the former Horgan's House of Taps, connected to Beer to Go. So we're gonna, prior to COVID, we were gonna open up Hoof and Horn in June of this year, but that got delayed. But now we're getting ready to get that started, so that'll open up first quarter of next year.
Beautiful.
So my 5-year plan was 5 places: Cow, Hoof and Horn, Hoof and Horn's second floor. To me, that would be another business. I had a feeling we'd get Old Town one day, and then I want to do a market. I want to expand on our market. So those are the 5 places, and then maybe I can answer your question about then what.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll probably do.
You're gonna have a whole new fresh set of goals.
A ramen noodle shop, and I get hit Italian, and I get hit Greek.
Yeah, it never ends. You hit that goal, and then it's like, okay, well now I'm here. Now, like, your whole vision, it changes again, and you set a whole new goal, and then that's just life, and then suddenly you're retiring.
Yeah, no, it is, or dead. But the fact is that I've never felt, I've never felt more in control with absolutely no control. Right? We don't know what's happening out there. Obviously these are some really trying times. Okay, all that, but I love what we're doing. We're in control of our own destiny now, and it's up to us to either pass or fail, straight up.
I love it.
And that's what we're gonna do. And I will bet on myself, my wife, my team, and our spaces. So yeah,
I like that outlook.
Yeah.
Something I always try to go into every day. It's like, who knows what's gonna happen? Any day I could wake up and just get hit by a bus. So I've always tried to live like that. But now this pandemic hit, and it's like you kind of get hit by a bus. But at the same time, it's not a big deal because you've been prepping yourself and working on yourself for that moment. But going back to it, what would you say the most positive thing that's come out of the pandemic for you?
So there's numerous things, but I'll only touch on a few. I take the positive out of all of it because everybody, can sit back. There shouldn't be any woe is me or any of that, but a lot of silver lining in this, and a lot of things that, gosh, I wish I would have thought of, but it took a pandemic for me to think of this. And one is, if we're talking about Cow, is you just said it. It's like you prepare yourself for any situation. So when a situation hits like this, to me, there's fighters or there's quitters. Yeah. And quitters is a pretty strong word, but I'm just going to be blunt. It's like, okay, the situation happened. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to close down, sit back for a while, and see what happens. There's nothing wrong with that, but to me, I look at that as like, I'm not cut from that cloth. Right. So I said, okay, shoot, can I cuss on this show?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Okay, shit.
Fuck.
Yeah, okay, good. I didn't know. I'm like, shoot, gosh darn it. This is a shame.
Dagnabbit.
Oh, fudgesicles.
So, but I was like, shit, man, what are we going to do? I have a staff of 72 kids looking at me on that day, knowing that we had to close at 5 o'clock. And I had to pause for 10 minutes, like I said, and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell these kids?
Ooh, that's like...
It's tough.
Yeah,
it's
that's
tough.
stressful.
But I said, I'll tell you what, we're going to figure this out. Y'all don't worry about it. We're going to figure it out. I think for most of you, the government... But, so we decided to fight. But the silver lining in that fight was you really took a step back. Because when the transition, the separation, Natty Greene's Kitchen and Market to Cow, a lot of confusion. Nothing that we could, put a stake in the ground to say, here we are, community. We were everything. We weren't anything. We were all over the board. But once we became Cow, we actually put that stake in the ground. But it was so busy so fast that I couldn't take a step back to look at okay, now what? How should we make this better? How should we prep this better? What should we do with this space? And the pandemic allowed me to do that.
Suddenly you were moving in slow motion and you could reevaluate,
right.
How do I really want this business to look and feel and...
Yeah. And so the silver lining in it was we took a step back. It gave us a chance to take a step back and go, man, how can we utilize this space better? And what it's going to do and what it's done is it allowed for us to expand on the market and give me an idea to expand on the market in the near future. It brought in heat-at-home meals. I should have been doing that from day one.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, it's it's basically a local Hello Fresh or Butcher Box. Come and get your stuff. We got you with the local vibe. The to-go thing that was just out of necessity, but the market and filling it with our goods and things that I was thinking meat and beer, and wine, but to be able to put our dips and all that. So there's the silver lining in that was more of just taking a step back and making our business more, or I guess I should say our logistics a little bit more efficient, but in opening up some avenues like the online play. Like, why not do an online grocery store?
Right.
Should have done that from the get-go. Well, if you have a market that people can come into, why aren't you letting them do that online?
Yeah.
So I would say that. It opened us up to some more avenues that I honestly, I don't know if I would have thought about
And cigars.
in the next year or two. And cigar, right? Yes. You coming in, and I was like, hey, man, I was thinking of everything that we could possibly do. Would you bring some cigars in here? You're like, yeah, absolutely. And they're doing great. And that led us to the Deck Cigar Bar, which we still need to. We'll spruce up next season for sure.
Yeah.
But it was like so much has happened. But yeah, so I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, you open some avenues, but to me, the avenues are partnerships.
Yeah.
I have a partnership with our food purveyors. I have a partnership locally with some, some other outlets, but like our partnership is fantastic. One, we're friends.
Yeah.
We've become friends because of it, and I always look at it that way. I never want to do like contracts or even like advertising. To me, I'll advertise if it's a partnership that benefits both of us.
Right.
But for me to
100%.
give somebody $1,000 to get a print ad,
Yeah.
well, what's the value in that?
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Especially right now.
Right.
Who wants to advertise?
So
That's why we're doing this podcast.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
You got the coolest spot in town. And I'm
Appreciate
not blowing
that.
smoke.
I appreciate that.
That ain't no smoke screen. It is, man.
I think you have a great spot too.
Well, thank you. Well,
Beautiful.
that's why we're partners.
Yeah.
There's no question. I mean, this facility it's very similar if you think about it. You got your market,
Yeah.
and then you got your restaurant bar.
Yeah.
You really do. Just like we do.
I love it.
So
It's all about the experience.
it's all about the experience.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, if you can't create a beautiful experience for your staff and the people that come in, then you got nothing.
And what are you doing? Yeah.
You got
And that's
nothing.
any business too, just small business in general. Like, it should be about that experience with people, and there's that people connection. And if you don't have that, you really don't have anything.
Right.
And that really can be said for anything in life, I think.
Yeah, and it's such a common theme for all of our guests that we've had on. It's like, what's your end game? Like, what's your goal? Like, there is no goal. It's just every day I just want to wake up and give 100% and just do what I love.
I want to control my destiny.
Right.
It's to me, financially, I gave that all up when I left, and to me, that's never been my motivation, because I feel that windfall will come one day.
Right.
And it's there. But ultimately, if I'm doing what I love and controlling my own destiny, that's what I thought about when I was 15 years old, and that's why I set out to follow my passion and do my own thing.
But that's a lot about your attitude, because there's only so much that we can control, and I think we've learned a lot about that through the pandemic. As small business owners, there's only so much that we can control. But what we can control is how we handle it. And like you said, some have folded, some have laid their cards down and just bowed out, and others have persevered and pushed forward and fought for what they believe in their business. And I'm not saying that the businesses that made those choices, certainly they have probably had, the reasons behind making that choice. But so much of it is just attitude. Like when this pandemic first started in photography, I'm with people all the time. And so one thing that I did with my business is I did these front porch sessions. The first month of the pandemic, all my jobs, my big jobs, everything were just either canceled or pushed back, because they were involved like events and things like that had a lot of people, and we weren't doing those. So I put out that I was going to do these front porch sessions with families and shoot from a distance with my long lens.
I've seen them.
And so that's what I did and I probably had about 40 of those. And I charged a minimal fee because people didn't know what their finances were going to look like through all of this. And it gave people an opportunity to just document this very extremely rare, unprecedented, strange time in our history. And I made it work. And also there were a lot of people in my life, like my, that stepped up and helped in ways that they could, like my landlord and stuff like that. So we certainly got through this together in many ways. And I think also in the community, you probably saw that a lot, where people were coming out to restaurants and really supporting small businesses. Like there was a thread on a new group on Facebook that was just catered to like where to eat in Greensboro, where can we support small businesses in Greensboro, and everybody was on there flooding it with like pictures of food and restaurants that were doing takeout and everything like that. It was the community coming together in a way to support businesses so that we could keep people open, knowing and understanding that it's a really strange and difficult time.
It is
for everyone. And I think so much of that is like your attitude to reinvent yourself in a way that keeps it going, keeps pushing forward through the adversity and building and strengthening your business and your employees and providing in that way, because so much of it is on you to keep that rolling.
That's right.
As a business owner, and your attitude is everything.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you got to lead by example, and even when you don't know, if you have a solid foundation, not to sound all philosophical, if you have a solid foundation that people have bought into, then it makes it that much easier. Makes it easier when something like this hits. Because they believe that you'll figure it out. I don't know if anybody has figured it out. But that's one thing that's more of a nationwide thing. But for us personally, within our business structure, we figured it out. We've adapted, and we'll continue to adapt.
Yeah.
Throw anything at us, and we'll figure it out. We'll work with it, and we'll make it happen. And we have a great community. We've got
We do.
we really have. I mean, look, I like Charlotte, I like Raleigh, I like Asheville, but Greensboro's so underrated. So underrated. We have some of the best restaurants.
Which is kind of the way I like it. Cause
Right, let's keep it that way. But
keep it from getting too busy.
We're starting to get away from being such a chain-driven community. I'm talking more on our side of things in the restaurant sector, and you're starting to see more restaurants pop up.
Oh yeah.
Independent restaurants. People are taking chances and putting it out there, and that wouldn't have happened, 5-6 years ago. And then you got, obviously places like this, but we've got a really a cool community that I hope kind of stays small,
Right.
but I hope recognizes what they have.
And I think this pandemic has really done a lot of that.
There's a lot of good that's going to come out from this.
I think
and
too,
that's.
yeah.
I'm not trying to offend anybody by all the bad that has happened with it, and people that have been personally affected by it, not only financially but family and physically. But it's out of our control. This thing hit us so fast that all you can do is what you can control, and that's what I try to teach my kids is like, don't worry about things you can't control, only do the best at what you can control.
Right.
That's what we do, man. We do that in our business, we do that at our house, and I'm going to keep pushing. People are like, are you nuts? You're opening a business during this? I'm like, man, this is the best time. Half capacity, so you don't have to worry about getting overrun, so you can train your staff, and
Low interest
Such
rates.
a great perspective.
right, low interest rates. It's like, man, look, now's the time to get in on the ground floor, and then when it all is free and clear, we're going to be ready to go.
It's mad rush time.
And then
People are going to
everybody
be ready to get out.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
people are going to be excited to be out and really be grateful for being able to
Well, look at
shift
it
their
is.
life again back
You
to
got
normal.
one spin at this thing.
Normal.
Right? You got one spin at this thing. And I'm going to make, I'm going to live it to the fullest. I'm going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes, but I'm going to keep pushing. You learn from them, but I'm going to keep taking calculated risks, and I'm going to keep pushing. I like to say, I'd like to think that I've brought some things to Greensboro, along with a lot of people that helped me along the way, partners, business partners. Obviously I told you my wife, that have added to Greensboro. You said the Poke Bowl. There were no Poke Bowls in Greensboro 3-4 years ago.
Right.
we learned about that when we went to Hawaii for our honeymoon in 2004. And I said, one day I'm gonna do poke bowls.
Right.
Prime beef. A butcher. Who has a restaurant
So
that
good.
has
Oh
a
my God.
butcher shop and butchery in their space that I don't think Greensboro understands what we have going on over
Right.
there. Like we're cutting
changing
and
the
curing
game.
and smoking. And if you don't want us to cook it for you, buy it in the market and cook it yourself. But you won't find a better quality cut done in-house by, Taylor Armstrong, our butcher. We have this restaurant, we have this deck bar. I mean, are we tooting our own? Yeah.
He's
Place
got
is badass.
He's got a great
Yeah.
name. Taylor Armstrong.
Taylor Armstrong.
Very strong.
Yeah, very strong. His nickname's the
Yeah.
Big Slow. That's
Yeah.
kind of strong, but it fits. He's
But kinda-
he's meticulous.
Is that the dip? The
yes,
big slow dip?
That's the Big Slow sausage
Oh,
dip. Yeah,
that's
He makes-
dangerous.
It's dangerous.
Very dangerous.
I'm adding that to Old Town too because it's so good.
It's so good.
It needs to spread. But so it's like, and I'm going to continue to push on, the simplicity standpoint. To me, cow is about, and I learned this early on, cow is about reintroducing simplicity. What I grew up with. I want you to taste the meat and have your two sides. I want to take simple to the highest quality and serve it to you. So.
Beautiful.
Old Town is a bar. Hoof and Horn, I'll tell you about that on another show.
I love it.
We're gonna shock downtown a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we've talked a lot about your businesses. Let's get a little bit personal.
All right.
Tell us something about your life that you wish you had more of. That maybe because so much time is poured into your business.
Yeah.
Tell us, what would you do more of if you had time?
I wish I had more time. I wish I had more family time with my kids. They're very involved in the business, whether they want to be or not. They're there. Today we were doing some stuff at Old Town, and my son came and we cleaned a cabinet and redid the component rack, and he loved it. He loves doing tasks, but I'd like for it not to always be centered around the restaurants and the
Right.
business. I'd like for it to be centered around going to, I don't know, Hanging Rock, or going to a park or cooking dinner. And we do it when we can, but I'd say family time. If I could have some more, separation from the restaurant to spend with the family. Yeah. Because I don't really have a hobby, or, I'm not a big, I like golf, but it's not like every Saturday I gotta go play golf. I just love what I do on the business side. I just need to program myself more on the family side. So
I have two kids.
Yeah.
And my son came home from school one time and had a picture drawn, and on one side of it, the assignment was, what makes you, it said, I wilt when, and he had to draw a picture in the box. And the other side said, I bloom when, and he had to draw a picture in the box. And so on the wilt when side, he drew a picture of me sitting at my desk, because I work out of my home when I edit. And it said, when my mom works. And the other side said, I bloom when I make new friends. And I pinned that to my wall by my desk as a reminder to balance my time so that I focus on them more, or I book my shoots in a way that, where I work around that time with them more.
Yep.
So I have to work, and he doesn't, I know that he's a child. He doesn't understand that mom has to work. I have to bring in an income. But I just thought that was just such a beautiful reminder of the way kids see us. Like, they don't understand why, like, let me give you my money so you don't have to, like, let me give you my money in my piggy bank so that you don't have to work, so that we
I've
can
heard
spend
that.
time together.
I've heard
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah,
numerous
they've
times.
done that. Like, they just don't understand, but they will understand. I think
will.
it's really important that they see my work ethic and that they see me working hard, but also they really need to they also need me, and they need that time with me. And so I do my very best to balance my lifestyle in a way that gives them all of me when I'm present, the best that I can, even though I'm always thinking about what I need to get done with my business. It's very hard to turn that off when you're a small business owner.
It's hard.
But all we can do is our best and try to remind ourselves that on a regular basis, like that they need us and they need that special quality time with us. So
yeah, before I got here, worked today, got home, we cooked dinner, sat as a family, went upstairs, watched my son play 2 games of Fortnite. I have no idea what's going on in that, but I was sitting behind him and he's turning to make sure I was looking, and I was intently, and then tucked him in. My daughter's waiting for me so we can watch 2 or 3 episodes of Friends, because that's kind of our thing at night. And so we find our time to do it, but I wish there was, Friends is great, Fortnite's great, but to just get in the car and go, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're trying to start over in business, but even if you're established in a small business, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard, because you're right. The work ethic, they're going to see that, and they're going to carry that through. And as they get older and understand more, they're going to say, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I cherish every moment with them, because it's going to happen so fast.
yeah, that's the hard part. Is like seeing them grow so fast. You're
and
like,
it's-
what am I'm missing?
It's like boom,
Yeah.
and then the next thing you know, they're in college and they're out. But I've kind of said, hopefully we can get there in some capacity, but this is the path I chose, and I'm going to make the best of my time at work and at home. And so if it's Friends, watching Friends, then our daughter will remember that forever. If it's Fortnite and tickles and smothering, like
That's what they're gonna
noogies.
remember.
They're gonna remember
Yeah,
that when I'm
they're gonna
putting
remember that for
my son
sure.
to bed, our son
Yeah.
to bed. So
Yeah.
they'll remember those times. And I've heard people like, "Oh, don't get in the business. Forge your own path." We'll leave that choice up to them. But may I be honored if they either carry on the legacy or branch out and do something of their own. That they have to fight and struggle and be rewarded. I think it's or they could be a professional working in the boring sector.
Well, that's what's so
Corporate world.
beautiful
Yeah,
about
corporate world.
And that's-
This is great.
And that's
Nah,
what's
no
so
thanks.
beautiful about like owning your own business, because you have these flexible hours that you can designate to certain things, right? So like with my kids, I am able to take them on trips. I am able to be with them right when they get out of school. I can do these things with them that maybe other people don't have the opportunity to do,
That's
that
right.
might work in a corporate environment. So that's where I get a lot. I feel
It's a
like I
balance.
do get a lot of time with them because of that kind of flexibility in my small business. So
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna, leave at 10 o'clock in the morning, you can. If you're in the corporate world, you're out by 6.
Right.
So
And I'll tell you what, my best memories with my dad weren't necessarily like a family vacation or, going to a sporting event or something like that. It was usually in his office. The best memories were just spent in his office when he
Yeah.
was in his element, and I was able to, carry some stuff to the garbage can or something like that for him, or just do little things here and there. It really was just like a special bonding moment, and it was more special than like, going on a vacation or something.
yeah, good.
yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
'Cause for
it's
us, a
cool
vacation
you're
is like just going to like Sticks and Stones or something.
right. Yeah. So it's cool you're getting them involved. I think that's going to be a lifelong lesson for them.
Good. I actually really appreciate hearing that.
because at the end of the
Yes.
day, it's really about time with you. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter where it is. It's
Yeah.
just being with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we talk, my wife and I talk, it's like, our kids have never been skiing, I'd love to take them skiing one day. I grew up in New Mexico where I was skiing at 4 years old, but the mountain was right there, so you just drove up there. So I know it's all kind of, relative as to where you're living or the timing, but you're right. For us, we do it for our staff and we do it for our family, is we want our staff to have a life. We want them to have, 2 days off. That's that's given, especially our management staff, but then even for our family, we want to make sure that every minute that we're not at the restaurant, hence why I don't play golf or do other things, it's because I want to spend it with the family.
Cool.
Especially now. That's fun, man. Kids are fun. They're maddening. But
How
they're
old
fun.
are they?
I've got an 11-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it seems like just yesterday they were, 1 and 4. See how I did that?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I did that.
It's good math. So
You just take away the 0, right? But,
So
yeah.
let's go back to the Greensboro hospitality restaurant industry. I lived in Charlotte for 4 years, went to school up there, worked up there. I loved the cuisine. The restaurants were amazing. I came back to Greensboro and I was like not looking forward to it at all. But then I started to connect with all the restaurants and business owners like you, and it became a beautiful thing. But there is a lot to improve. I would say, in my opinion, I'm a foodie at heart. I love to go out and eat and experience cuisine. What would you say would change the game for Greensboro?
Ooh. I think what would change the game in Greensboro is if the community would actually realize, not support, because they do support, but I mean as a majority, not a whole, as a majority, would realize what they have from the independent restaurants that are out there. I don't think that, like, I know, speaking on our behalf, 70% of the people that still come into Cal are coming in for the first time. And you can say, well, what are you doing? You should market, you should do this. And I think people are so in tune to their own little routine or their own little sector. Like in Charlotte, you had like maybe districts. You had Noda, and you've got Dilworth and Myers Park.
Yeah.
They stay in those areas, but they'll venture out. Not often, but they'll venture out to other areas because it's known that there's some good areas there. We need to get Greensboro to realize, be a little bit more adventurous. There's times at Cal that I'll do some specials. I'll do steak tartare. And people in Greensboro are like, man, what is that? It looks like it's raw and chewed up already. Well, it is raw, but it's chopped. So it's like I just want people to get a little bit more adventurous in the fact that try some different things, but also become a little bit more aware of what's actually happening. Not only in the restaurants, but there's cool events going on. There's Greensboro is small business. I mean, what's our industry? It's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be textile. It's gone. So it is small business. I know we've got some hubs here. We've got FedEx, and we've got Heiko, and others coming. But the fact is that what's really driving Greensboro is the independent small businesses,
100%.
and they need to just kind of accept that, but also appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I would say that what could change the game? What could change the game is the shift to. I don't think it's a culinary. I don't think it's a dish. I don't think it's an establishment, because we already have the establishment.
Right.
We already have the dishes. I just don't think we have. It's not the support. It's just the full understanding of what we're doing. All of us restaurants, all of us local, even businesses, but on the restaurant side, there's some good restaurants, and they're easy to get to.
Yeah.
In Charlotte, man, it'll take you 40 minutes to go a mile.
Oh yeah.
Here, I mean, you're done in 40 minutes with your meal.
Right.
So
basically, everyone just needs to expand the horizon.
they gotta expand the horizon. Don't get locked into a simple routine. Go downtown, check it out.
Yeah.
Park, walk. Go to Revolution Mill. Check out these little corridors and read the paper. Online. I mean, what a search engine. Look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for what we're doing is, I talk to people daily. I'm like, have you heard of Cal? No. And it's like, I'm not going to do a TV ad. I'm not going to do a radio ad. I'm big on, being stealth.
Yeah.
Because I like to be we're a big place, but a little secret.
Yeah.
But at some point, you want that secret to get out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could say that for all the restaurants.
Right.
So.
Do you find that people are coming to you through word of mouth more than anything else?
Yep. And
Yeah.
I love building a foundation on word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because, I'll say that, we opened that establishment in 2017 under a different name. The bones of the concept were there. The full playbook wasn't, opened up. So the first year and a half, it's a little bit confusing. So I'm not going to, knock the community for that. But once we have established ourselves, word of mouth has grown exponentially because I feel like we've settled in. People understand what we're about, and they're spreading the word for us. And to me, word of mouth is the best way because that is the true essence of an entrepreneur. If you're doing a good job at whatever your business is, and it is quality, with quality product, quality people, word's gonna get out. Word is gonna get out. So for us, it's getting out.
Yeah.
Hell, it was really getting out.
Yeah, the quality is amazing. I've probably been over there 3 times in the last month, and everything that I've had is has been very, very good.
Yeah,
And-
go like
and-
twice a week.
Yeah, right. And we're gonna miss. I mean, it's the restaurant business. We're gonna miss. We're gonna have, unfortunately, some people are gonna have a bad experience. It's a hard business to control. It's not a lighter. It's not something that you put the fluid in, you push a button, and the fire comes on.
Right.
Every single time until the fire goes out.
Right.
And for us, you're dealing with 72 staff members. You're dealing with numerous, different tastes. People coming in. Well, I do it this way. Then why are you out?
Yeah. Right.
But that's
Go home and cook.
that's why I put a market in. Go buy it at the market and cook it. But we're gonna miss. We're gonna have. Unfortunately, we may provide, but very rarely. So in our business, in our industry, I've heard, if you're good 60% of the time, 70%, I'm trying to be good 95% of the time. But that 5%, man, that's a tough pill to swallow. I got to deal with that stuff.
It hurts.
It hurts, and it's just like, you can only control so much. We talked earlier about controlling your destiny. Okay, well, that's the business platform.
Right.
That's the business avenue. But controlling a staff, you can't.
Yeah.
It's like I can't be at every table. I can't cook every dish. And we're gonna have some misses, but very, very, very few. Right. So people just gotta understand that it's a tough business. It's not like you're gonna be perfect every time, but we do a great job. We're
Oh yeah.
we're not
100%.
perfect, but we're really, really close to great.
Yeah.
And no business is reality. No business is perfect.
These-
I mean, I got a bad review yesterday because we have Latin music out here because of the palm trees, the Miami kind of vibe
Havana
to
Hills.
it. Yeah.
Hello.
I got a bad review because they didn't like the music. And I'm like,
Well, that's a tough thing for all of us. Is that
yeah, let me change that for you.
These things. Yeah, exactly. Here's the controller.
Yeah.
Is these things that we have in front of us, these that everybody has in their pocket, these cell phones, these smartphones, these apps. Everybody is an expert. Everybody's a critic, and I hate the word critic because that has such a negative connotation. It really is. It's tough because that keyboard, and we all know about keyboard warriors, and everybody's is a badass behind a keyboard.
Right.
But not everybody has the balls to go out and do it themselves.
Yeah.
And so then I don't care what business it is. It's easy to go work for somebody, try working for yourself, and try making that nut every month.
Yeah.
Try pleasing the staff, pleasing customers. It's tough.
Yeah.
Music. Are you serious?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just any little thing can be scrutinized at any second, and that's another thing. So you can have we do food and we do beverages and we have a great establishment, but all the other X factors that come into that, whether it's music or lighting or, it's just, that's other things you have to deal with that I don't think people realize on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's not just about the plate we put in front of you, it's about the entire experience, and we're trying to create a beautiful experience. And it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and even if it's a stupid review, it still hurts your heart a little bit, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
even if it's your fault.
Yeah.
So I have a great quote I'm going to read about this. It's called "The Man in the Arena." It's Theodore Roosevelt. Have you heard it?
No.
All right. It says
I've
it
heard
is.
of him.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Yeah, you need to send that to me. Yeah.
Ooh.
That's
yeah.
my favorite quote. I love it.
That's a great quote. Yeah, it's the truth.
That's deep.
It's the truth. Yeah, until you're in it, you don't know. You don't know. You think you know.
Yeah.
You can Google it. You
Right.
don't know.
So I think we have to wrap up pretty soon, but one last question from me. What's your favorite cigar right now?
I butcher this every time. I'm gonna go
Let's hear it.
Bella Artes. Did
Yeah.
I say it right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
AJ Fernandez.
Yeah, that's my favorite. And then really my go-to cigar is the Oliva
Okay.
5 V.
Yeah, yeah. The Serie V.
The Serie V. That's my
Yeah,
my
it's
go-to.
such a solid smell.
Yeah. So and this one's great that I'm doing right now. Yeah, the Bellas.
Yeah.
Bella Artis.
Yeah, those are moving nicely on the deck.
Yeah, the Crux.
Yeah.
Crux.
Mhm.
Yeah, I said it right. Yeah. I enjoy the orange label is good. I like the blue one, the light blue.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that
And then
one.
I'll tell you another cigar I really like is the Farce.
Farce
Right?
Maduro.
Yes.
Boofy.
Yes.
We just interviewed him.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that one.
His
Yeah.
will go out this week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Next
Yeah.
time he's in town, we'll have to
Yeah,
bring him by.
Bring him by.
Yeah.
I love that one. And that's what I love about this place is I wouldn't say I'm new to them, but I don't know a lot about them, and I'm learning more. Like, you ask me about food, yeah, I'll tell you anything you need to know.
Right.
Cigars, I come to you,
That's right.
and you tell me what I need.
That's
to
what
know.
we're here for.
I always say, hey man, what do we got? I got some for you. I'll tell you, hey, I got you covered. And you've entered the Bella Artes is that one when you threw that in that I was like, whew. My wife and I, she'll take a couple puffs too. And she's like, oh my god! And I was like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say that's my favorite.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Any last questions, Shayna?
That's it for me. I'm good. We covered a lot.
Awesome.
Wow,
Well,
yeah.
thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you
This
so
is
much
fun.
for being here with
That was
us.
great.
Yeah, cigar and a drink and good conversation
Behind
Yeah.
the smoke screens.
behind the smoke screens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
appreciate
it.
it, y'all.
Yeah, no problem. Love you guys.